turned to say goodbye, and without thinking, I just blurted those 3 words out. I love you. He stared at me for a moment, and I went on. I can't continue like we are now. I need you to know that. I'll still send money for your mom's treatment. I'll send anything. I just needed to say this fake arrangement is too much for me. Before I could say anything else, he leaned in and kissed me. He also agreed that we had an undeniable connection from the moment he saw me in the store. Just like that, we were dating. And I wish I had been smarter and had seen him for what he really is. Soon after we became official, my dad asked to meet with him. We were a little nervous that he secretly hated him, but the news shocked us both. He offered Jeff a position in his company. It wasn't a very big job, but it let him get in touch with a lot of clientele. Plus, it paid better than anything he ever had. We never spoke a single word of the kidnapping or anything to my father, and I planned on keeping it that way. He worked very hard at the starting position, and life was good. We moved in together, and he got to experience a little of the luxurious life I was living, and he continued to take care of his mother. I used to visit his mother occasionally, but one day, things changed. He was really weird when he came home, and I asked what had happened. He told me her condition had gotten much worse. He didn't think it was a good idea for me to visit with her anymore. He said she was a very proud woman and wouldn't have wanted anyone to see her this way. I never questioned it and let him keep that private part of his life. Despite his mother's condition, he seemed happier. He loved his life and he was very ambitious. He told me one day that he had dreams of having his own company and to be rich. He was making decent money, but he said it all had to go to his mother's treatment. So I continued to pay for everything for us. The apartment, groceries, going out. I loved being with such a selfless person, or so I thought. One day, he got this huge promotion. With this promotion came a lot of money. I thought he would be able to help out. Right at that time, though, his mother needed another major surgery. I asked if I could visit her, but he said that she still wasn't comfortable with me seeing her like that. He made me promise never to go to her. He ended up spending even more time away from me. He was pretty much either at his mother's shack or at work. Even when he came home, it would be at very late hours. At first, I thought this was because of him having no time, but it became very apparent one day that he was trying not to hang out with me. We had a huge fight over it one day. I walked right up to him and asked if he was cheating. He insisted he was just working and taking care of his mom. He asked me how I could be so selfish that I needed to be the center of everything. He had a much harder life than me, and I didn't understand. I felt really bad about it, and I told him I would make it up with a romantic evening. On me, of course. I insisted on making us a reservation at this fancy restaurant since he was showing no initiative in making dates. It was our anniversary, and I wanted it to be special. I waited a whole hour for him there. It was so embarrassing. I called him over and over again, but he didn't answer at all. That's it. I was so fed up, I decided to break my promise and go to the shack. How dare he not show up like that? When I got there, I saw his car in the driveway. I couldn't see what was going on because of the lights, but you could tell he wasn't alone. So the next day, I decided to come to the shack and hide inside before he comes. I know where he hides the extra key. I let myself in, expecting to see the same poor home I remembered. But my mouth dropped when I looked inside. The shack was absolutely gorgeous on the inside. Plasma screen TVs, crystal statues, everything. The house had gotten a major upgrade, and it was very apparent that his money wasn't all going into medical expenses. Where was Jeff? I looked around the home for any sign of him at all. I found no one. That's right, not a single soul. It's not like his sickly mother could have just waltzed out of here. Unless he had some kind of secret necromancer, he had a lot of explaining to do. I thought that maybe he had a secret family he was with and that he was only using me for my money and father's position. I decided to wait out for his return. I shut off the lights and waited angrily in the darkness while watching funny My Story animated videos and scrolling through memes. I didn't have to wait long. As soon as I heard a car pull into the driveway, I hid behind a couch to catch him by surprise, along with whoever else he was bringing. Well, I was right, partly. He did show up with a girl, but there was no way this was his wife. The girl was maybe about 14, and she was blindfolded and very scared. He told her to wait patiently, and as soon as her father wired him the money, he would drop her off safe and sound. It seemed like he was doing much more with his connections than business. I was angry. I quickly texted my friend to call the police and sent her my location. Next, I put my phone on recording mode. I jumped from behind the couch, screaming, startling them both. I confronted him immediately, saying that he needed to explain himself. Well, he spilled the beans pretty fast. Turns out, His mom did take a turn for the worst, but he wasn't supporting her. She died. He had lied about her health so he could continue to live off of me and hoard his wealth. He told me he never loved me. He just saw me as a ticket to wealth. He planned on getting so rich that he could leave me high and dry and never worry about his bank account again. He had been using his connections to get contacts from very rich parents so that he could continue collecting ransoms. I told him his days of being rich were over, but he said not to be so sure. He threatened to kill me. "Nobody is ever going to find out about this little conversation, Mandy," he said, and he jumped at me. And I started running and I hid in his mother's room and closed the door with a key. So he started banging on the door really hard, trying to break it. But 30 seconds later, the lights started flashing. It was the police. He tried to make a run for it, but the police tackled him down very hard. He started crying hysterically when I told him there was no Gucci in prison. Today, I sleep very calmly and without nightmares, knowing that I caught my kidnapper.